Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. This is Life List, a birding podcast. I am George Armistead here with my co-hosts, Mollee Brown and Alvaro Jaramillo. Guys, how are we doing today?
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Trained professional. I was trying to make him laugh, as we had the countdown, and he just pulled it together,
You were
right
trying
at
to trip
this
me
moment.
up. Just trying to trip me up. Mm-hmm.
Trip you up. No, I was, George just, he's so serious. So I needed
Very serious.
to break the ice.
Well, it's a serious podcast.
It's a serious podcast.
Extremely serious.
This is all about listing, right, guys? No? That's why they call it Life List.
Pshaw.
No, for those of you who are new to this podcast, it's called Life List because we kind of thought it was kind of cool to have the word life, like you're living the birding life. And people do have lists, and also we have lists of topics. It was sort of one of those things that if you think this is all about bird listing, at times you're right. At times you're not right. Would you say that's the case, guys? Would you? That's kind of how we aimed.
Yeah.
Yep. As much as I appreciate our New York Times shout out, which was awesome, it did say that we were mostly about bird identification. And I thought,
wow.
That's a little bit of a piecemeal approach, but
yeah, I mean, how do I
describe,
how do we describe the differences in flycatchers, verbally or something? I guess you can, but it would take 1,000 words.
That might change our listener base.
Yeah. I don't think the podcast would actually be a best venue for, dealing with identification issues for the most part. But, we didn't want to limit ourselves. And yeah, if a life list is a lifelong pursuit and sort of a diary, that's kind of what we were going for, right? Is that is, and it is specific to birds, really, for the most part.
Yeah.
So,
is the word life list used, like, by anybody else?
I actually Googled this a while ago, and I think there's a movie, right?
Bucket list, right? But not life list.
Yeah, there's a rom-com from 2025, it says. The Life List. Yeah, this is a Netflix movie starring Sophia Carson, who I'm unfamiliar with. And but this is a rom-com. I see nothing that indicates there is any birding aspect to this.
You know what this just pops this thing into my head from the other day. I was with a birder used to be a guide at Field Guides, Doug McRae.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about lane guides. Now,
oh, yes, the Jim Lane guides.
Guides. So anybody who's a younger birder, newer birder, has no idea what this is. Pre any internet, there was a guy who wrote books on different places so you could buy the lane guide to Florida.
The big hot spots, Southeast Arizona, South Florida, Texas. Yeah.
He would have these maps and here's where you go to see the whatever and, the mangrove cuckoo and people would buy these lane guides. Eventually they became so popular that other people started writing lane guides for the Lane Guide series. So I asked Doug, did you ever meet this Jim Lane guy? And he was like, oh, yeah, he's a bit unusual. It's actually, I think birders have become more normal now than they used to be. There's so many more weirdos and wackos back in the day. I don't know. Is this true? I mean, ask your dad.
I think, yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not sure he's a great judge, but yeah, I do think, we are peculiar, but we've grown so much, right? There's so many more of us now that almost by default, we would have to become slightly more normal, post-COVID.
Exactly. But the point of this whole thing reminds me of the rom-com. Apparently, Jim Lane also, I guess under a pseudonym, would write these hot romance novels.
No.
Holy
yes,
cow.
I mean by hot I'm saying not really.
Like Jackie Collins.
I don't want to use the word pornographic because there's no imagery, but I think they were sort of really sleazy kind of romance novels. It's
So
the
that kind of
same
life list.
man. Yeah,
They have
like
like
a different kind of
the ones with like Fabio on the cover.
something like this. I mean, and it just strikes me as rather. Can you imagine? Like he was probably doing this on a typewriter at those times, so he'd probably and then he took off his shirt. Oh, I gotta, and then you can find the woodpecker in the winter. It's like he would probably go back and forth between these two kind of things in his head, going, "Oh, I should really do this map on how to find red-cockaded woodpecker, but I should finish this really steamy part of when the guy takes the shirt off." So I don't know. It's I thought that was really funny. I don't know, just struck me as hilarious for some reason, but there you go.
This is reminding
And
me
it could
of.
be a lie. I don't know.
Keeping it fresh.
That's why
I
I'm saying Doug McRae told me. So
I'm going to accept it
him.
as a fact. I'm going to accept it as a fact because that's a much better. That's a much more fun story.
I know. And you heard it here first. So yeah.
There you go.
Expose here on Life List. Yeah.
I know.
Speaking of those kinds of things, though, and not in book form anymore, have you looked at how eBird is doing the descriptions of hotspots now?
I love that.
How to bird those areas. It's so helpful. It's really cool.
The site
I like it a lot.
descriptions, the iconic birds, a lot of new stuff.
I like the iconic birds. That's fun. I like because our property is a hotspot, so I like looking at what is trending because it shows X times above the average for the area.
Yes.
And it's cool to see those kinds of things too.
My parents' farm has 52 times more chance of black scoter than any surrounding place. I'm like, really? Wow. Seems like a lot,
Yeah. On the opposite, do you not, and we might have mentioned this before, when you use Birdcast and you have all this amazing information that's happening, and then they have the list of the birds that should be going by that night, and they're often like, that makes no sense whatsoever. You're like, it's not a good list, at least not up here. I mean, we're New York because we don't have it in Canada. But have you noticed that? It's just completely
you mean when it shows
off.
you kind of the likely migrants that are moving that night?
Yeah, totally just wackadoodle stuff.
You're actually validating me because I felt like, man, I guess I'm missing those birds coming through. But I've definitely noticed that.
And then, or sometimes it'll be green heron. Are there thousands of green herons flying over today? Or what? What is this telling me? I feel like it's so confusing, especially for a newer birder that it would be like, oh wow, I should really go out tomorrow and look for green heron. That it just is not useful. I don't know. Maybe some of the Cornell people who listen can explain what that data is based on, and if it's something that just needs more people observing, to kind of make that better. But it's the concept is great, but I'm just not sure it works right now. So that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's also the movement of birds and what's stopping over, right? So I find that to be a little misleading. Or maybe you as the user have to put together the dots of this is how, winds are moving and this is what is maybe going to just push right over versus, birds that might be on the ground in good numbers the next morning. That's I think that's another step that isn't clearly laid out with Birdcast. I don't know if that's its role to do that.
I think eventually they could, right? They could see where birds landed and go, you have an immense landing kind of situation going on right now at this spot, right? So
kind of predict local birding conditions.
No, actually see real data. Overnight, they would be able to see where birds actually stopped, where where they kind of are concentrating.
So you've got your radar maps that are dissipating when they're landing.
Yeah.
Well,
that's kind of what I was thinking, I guess. But because I do think that for a lot of people, they see the Birdcast forecasts and they see that it's high volume. I certainly initially fell prey to this where you think, oh my God, it's high volume, got to rush out. And then you realize, oh, actually, today is either really no different from yesterday in any kind of noticeable way, or maybe it's actually you have just sort of a less good day birding. without thinking, okay, actually, a lot of those birds just sailed on past. Like, it was great conditions for them to migrate, but they're not actually here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They flew over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I know
That's-
we talked about it a month ago or so, but I mean, being on the coast, you really see that when you know birds are incoming and whether or not they're landing right as they get to
yeah.
crossing the bay or whatever. I'm sure you see that on the lakes the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely the case. I've 2 more new species for the yard.
Oh, boy.
171. I am
171, Al. Wow.
at the cusp of actually breaking through to the top 100 yards in Canada within essentially a year,
Goodness.
which means we picked it well. It's like, so,
Seriously.
yeah. So that's
So tell us about the new birds. What are the new birds?
Wilson's snipe flew over and yellow-billed cuckoo showed up, which is
Juicy.
So the two cuckoos are, I think they're nesting a couple of yards down because I hear them, both species, but I don't see them every day. Well, cuckoos are weird, right? They can be right next to you and you may not hear them for a day.
Yeah.
So
sneaky, very sneaky.
Very sneaky.
They are cool birds.
So that was unexpected. I thought when June rolled around, I would not see anything different and new. So, but you still do if you're looking. And then we had on our dog walk, a western meadowlark showed up, which
that's got to be a pretty good bird.
Big deal. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, big deal for here because we're so far east.
Were you able to get any were you able to get any New World blackbird experts to kind of confirm that for you, Al?
I did. I have a book. I mentioned a book from last century that was quite useful actually for looking at the tail pattern because I forgot. Like, I know it's like. Well, for those of you who don't know, I wrote a book about blackbirds way back.
The New World Blackbird book that you and Peter Burke and Dave Beadle, he did some work. It was all Peter. Yeah. I think most people know Al for his Birds of Chile book, but the New World Blackbird book is actually an excellent volume. Really, really great.
I'm thinking of starting to write some seedy novels too. Something, like
pick up where Jim Lane left off. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Now with sort of the heated rivalry kind of stuff going on, I could just imagine, a little something, something I don't know, nasty going on in some bird observatory. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think it's time for the birding. It wouldn't be the first steamy birder novel, right?
Yeah, there was one, like 2-3 years ago, there was one that came out. It was like Birding Hot Summer or something. Yeah.
Birding with Benefits. That's what
Birding with Benefits.
Yeah.
I didn't read it. I just been told about it by friends.
You might need to do some research before you start writing there, Al.
Yeah, I know.
Nah, keep it fresh. Don't let it cloud your perspective.
Yeah. No, and it's funny. Anyways, Western Meadowlark. I don't know. I was sort of like thinking, now that I'm back here, are people worried about meadowlarks that learn the wrong song? Because that used to be a thing. People were always like, well, how do you really know it's a Western meadowlark and it's not an Eastern that learned the wrong song, Because they actually do, and they can learn each other's songs. So I kind of went into it with I got to, before I really let this out, I got to figure out that it is a Western. So I did get photos, and tail pattern was a key thing, much less white on the tail.
Call notes are not learned, though. Is that correct?
That's right, but you don't hear the call notes
in
often.
The breeding plumage, or on the breeding sites as much. Yeah.
No, you do, but you can. But they have to be interacting. So if you have a single male, he's probably just going to sing most of the time. He's not.
I see.
If a female shows up and stuff, and they start interacting, then you're going to get a lot more calling.
Start hearing some chucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck notes.
Chuck notes as opposed to the dessert note of the Eastern. Yeah. So, but everybody's been pretty happy because I think for most people, this is the first county Western meadowlark they've been able to try to look at. There've been some folks that have seen one before, But yeah, it's
We've got
second
one here
record
too,
in 40
actually.
years or something.
Yeah, I think it might be the first for southeastern PA. Jeff Kenny just found one in his patch in Chester
Cool.
County, just outside of Philly here. It's been here. I think it's still here.
I was
going to
say,
later.
have both, they've set up shop. I guess yours has too, Alvaro.
At least a week.
Cool.
Yeah. So about a week. So that's been exciting. Sort of the first good bird I've kind of found here. So it's like,
That's a good one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Easy to fly under the radar if you're not paying attention or listening, probably.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of neat stuff. But yeah, so things are moving. Like, yeah, birding is still happening big time here, and lots of bugs. So bugs in terms of like new species of bug, not like biting bugs, but more like insects.
Fun bugs.
Fun bugs. Lots of them. So
I had a bug the other day in the yard here.
Oh yeah.
Stepped right on it. I think I misidentified it. I'm pretty sure because basically what happened was I went out my front door to look at my pollinator plants and see some bugs and just see what's coming into bloom. And I stepped on something, but I didn't notice. At first, I just saw a very large hornet, like zipping away. And I was like, oh, it must be my first cicada killer of the year. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, mother of pearl. And it's like, I got stung in the bottom of the foot. And I was like, this is incredibly painful. Like, I think I dropped my phone out there and I was like, I was all aflutter and all a panic. And I I assumed it must be a cicada killer by size. But I've been going around. I haven't seen them. We do have quite a few here in the summer, and it's a little on the early side for them. But I've been seeing a lot of European hornets, a lot of paper wasps. So I don't know actually which thing stung me. I think it was probably one of those European hornets, but just a very tender spot.
See, Mollee, this is why when there's a crime, you cannot trust eyewitness reports.
Least reliable thing.
If this had been like, hey, I came up with, a gun and asked me for all, he'd be like, I think it was a big hornet. No, it was a human, but yeah.
Well, in my defense, I did go out with the camera to try to document the beast in question, and I'm finding lots of stinging insects, but not the one that I thought it was. So,
if you stepped on it, did you look where you stepped? Was there a hole?
No, but around our steps, there's like some bare areas of dirt, and that is a known area where the cicada killers dig in. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of insects around, and I was in bare feet out there, and which I often am in the yard. So
yeah, so I'm totally blanking on the family, but the family of cicada killers, that set of wasps, everybody, they actually grab an insect. Well, the family, each species has a different creature that they concentrate on. So there's tarantula hawks and all these other ones, but they will actually grab a cicada and immobilize it with their venom so that it doesn't die, but it can't get away, and then stick it in a hole.
Yeah, you can hear the cicadas when they nail the cicadas. You can hear them. They make a racket, man. And the apoid wasps, it says, that are in the family Bembicidae, but you're probably looking for a more specific subfamily.
No, the actual family, like apioid wasps, that's the
right. Everything
that includes everything. Yeah. So it's
Bembicidae is the family.
It's that doesn't sound right, but maybe taxonomy's changed since I was
probably
a young child. But
I did have a friend,
really cool.
A friend called me right away and was like, "Hey, I'm doing a book on wasps. I need you to tell me more about this sting, because I don't actually know many people that have been stung by a cicada killer." And I was like, "Oh, time for an update."
Wow.
Yeah.
It's good that didn't go to waste.
Yeah. Well, I told him, I was like, it was not a cicada killer. I don't think, but not really sure what species. So I had to couch the information I'd put out before.
That's funny.
But yeah, otherwise it's been fun around the yard here. I've been spending time down at the farm. We've got a lot. The garden is coming into bloom. Not quite peak, probably a week, 2 weeks away, maybe a little bit more for peak flowering stuff here. There's a chipmunk building some sort of nest underneath my HVAC here. I'm looking at now. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. Spent some time down at my folks' farm on the Delmarva, and probably the thing I love there is the broadhead skinks. We really have a lot of broadhead skinks there. It's a good spot for them, and that's fun. And my sister actually found a rough green snake. Mollee, I think you had one.
No way.
Yeah. So yeah, my sister Mary found one recently, and I was like, I wasn't there, so I'm very jealous. But I'm going to go back and look for it. And also in our garage, and as you guys know, I love seeing snakes if I know that they're there. Being surprised by them is not something that I react well to. Of course, many people don't. I was with Kristen, and we walked into our garage down there. We were looking for some gardening tools, and I suddenly realized that there was about a 4-foot black rat snake, like kind of splayed out on some shelf there, and I just was like, "Oh!" And Kristen was like really not impressed with my reaction. I think that's the first time she'd ever actually seen me like react to a close snake that had surprised me. And she was like, "That's all you're concerned about?" She was like, "I can move it if you want." I was like whimpering like a small child, but it was cool to see it. Once I knew it was there, I was a little bit bitter, but I don't like being indoors with snakes either. I think that's part of that's something about that is not great for me. But seeing a rough green snake outside, man, I got to make that happen on the farm. I've only seen them a couple times before, so.
Yeah. It's one of those, I like laugh at the dogs for going and sniffing the same spot where they found something interesting years ago. But I'm going to look at that spot where I saw that green snake the other day, probably every single time I walk by it, forever. And I do that with birds too.
Have you thought about putting up boards? Which is like a proper technique to actually survey for snakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have tins up. I have some tin, and we've actually put cardboard down and done it with cardboard a little bit and just kind of let it's in spots that we had eventually wanted to clear, so it kind of passively like solarized it while also using it as a snake spot. I haven't, I mean, it's not that we have a shortage of wood to put down, but I haven't really done that. But I flip rocks, so we've got our paths lined with rocks that we've got from the property, and we flip those too. So I've definitely done a fair bit of that.
Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna put a little in the corner there, a little piece of wood there or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that in the yard here as well. And I've yet to find a snake underneath it, but I think I mentioned I had my first garter snake here a couple weeks ago. I was pretty excited about that. It's overdue.
Is that your first snake in the yard?
I've had Decay's brown snake also. But that's it.
Yeah.
Just those two. Yep. I love Decay's brown snakes. That's a snake I'll pick up. I just think they're cute,
Yeah. Same with green snakes. There's some cute ones.
Totally.
I think I could find a milk snake here, which is something I've never seen. So
that's why I put the board down. I just got my first one last year, not far from here, and I know a spot where they are. So that's when I put the board down. That's exactly what I have in mind. Is maybe I could get a milk snake in the yard. That would be amazing.
Such a good snake. It is box turtle season over here. They are all over the place, which is really fun. And I mowed. We have a little 5-foot brush hog on the subcompact tractor, and I was overdue to mow all the paths that we have through the field. And I was like walking stretches and doubling back and then mowing it because I was terrified I was going to hit a snake, as I have before, or a turtle or a fawn or something. And I see no casualties. And I found a lot of turtles while I was walking this morning. So things are great over here. Ooh, and our property has a ton of ragged fringed orchids. There are a lot of orchids here, but that's one that they are really coming out nicely right now.
That's awesome.
I'm enjoying those. Yeah. It's the one thing I've ever put on iNaturalist, and then a random person has showed up on the property looking for them.
Oh, wow.
They're, I guess, a fairly hard one to come across out this way, but we'll see if that happens again.
I was going to ask Mollee, I think I've asked before, but I don't remember. Have you ever had queen snake around there? It seems like you'd be in a good area for them.
We are. I haven't had them here. I've had them along the river that's less than a mile from here, but I don't have them for the property. Totally. The creek that goes through here and just kind of the banks around it, I think could be good for it.
Yeah.
And there's even a little retainer pond that the Department of Environmental Protection has just on the south side of the property, and that would be a good spot for them as well. That's technically just outside of property lines, but yeah, queen snakes.
That's a pretty one.
Yeah. There seem to be fairly good populations of them around here. They're studied a lot in West Virginia. It's a lot of monitoring that goes on.
They're really river specialists, aren't they? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only places I've seen them here.
So yeah, the other day, Peter Burke was around and we were driving. I was just showing some local spots, and it's turtle season. So a big snapping turtle was crossing the road. And we're like,
Oh, yeah.
we better stop and deal with this guy. And Pete said, you can hold him, but you got to hold him straight from the back.
Yeah.
And
which I will never do.
He tried this his holding it from the back, but they're heavy, right?
Yeah.
And they're really muscular. So
some of them are big too. I mean, they get really big sometimes.
Yeah, it was huge. This is huge. Yeah. So he's grabbing it from the back, doing it properly. And the thing starts like actually snapping its head back and like just at a speed, that was, you can't imagine how quick it is. He's safe, right? But the thing in its movement and it just, the whole thing, and he's trying to hold it from the back, which is you get this sort of lever situation. It's just doesn't work. So he basically had to like run with it, as it was falling, to the edge of the road and put it in grass, while the whole thing kind of, and then
he was
it was
mistake. This was a mistake. Yeah.
Well, he got it off the road, so that was obviously the thing. Like we wouldn't have touched it at all, but
sure.
Then, so I see that. And then yesterday, I'm driving and it's like, there's another turtle. I'm like, oh, damn it. I got to stop and help this guy out, or at least put my flashers on so people behind me know that something's going on. And I thought, well, I'm not going to grab it. This was huge. I'm like, but I've got my big old rubber boots on, so maybe I'll just kind of coax it with my foot over to the side, and it starts biting my boot, big time, and it's strong, and I
did it go through your boot?
No, it didn't. It didn't. But it like as it kind of recoiled into itself, I could actually sort of slowly push it, on the gravel, because it was a gravel road, and I'm telling this delivery van, sort of giving them the signal, go ahead, I'm dealing with this. And they just sat there like, no, I want to see what goes on here.
That's a snapping turtle. I'm going to wait and see how this shapes up. Yeah.
Yes, going to see some blood here in a second, It's like, but I did get it off the road and everything was fine. And, it's funny. I mean, we've seen a lot of Blandings turtles too, and those are pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Or Midland painted turtles, and you can just grab those, or just they do their thing. But snapping turtles are a whole different thing.
Yeah, I saw a few years ago. I saw a photo that was like a composite image of people that clearly didn't know as much about snapping turtles as they should have, and it was like stumps of like thumbs from people trying to get phone photos of these things that kept getting closer and closer with their phone until eventually they got snapped at. And I was like, man. I don't even know if that's like true, but you could see how it would happen.
Yeah, I'm sure they would draw blood and stuff, but I can't imagine them like breaking a bone. Like
I mean, I've seen them drag. I saw one a few years ago at Chincoteague drag a white ibis into the water by the leg, and just that thing, it was fighting and fighting. Eventually it lost its whole leg, and that was that, and I feel like we see other birds too that are missing a leg, and I think that is probably a pretty tasty morsel, and maybe only the appetizer that the turtle was looking for. But they're not to be trifled with, those snapping turtles.
It's a common thing for water birds or waders to get or to come into the Avian Conservation Center with snapping turtle injury.
That's what. Remember the big flamingo incursion?
Yeah,
there was one of the
right.
Pennsylvania flamingos lost a leg to a snapping turtle, and then it was that was the beginning of the end for that bird. It seemed like.
Yeah, it was. I didn't make it out. I did watch my horse get bit on the nose by a snapping turtle when I was a kid. The turtle went flying. It was an ordeal, and the horse was fine, but it was a crazy thing to see.
Wow. I cannot imagine.
It was like out in the middle of the field. We always had snapping turtles that we had like a 2-acre pond and then a lot of smaller ponds and creeks and stuff. So there were turtles around. So they'd be crossing through the fields this time of year when they're looking to lay eggs somewhere. They come up to my cabin here now, even, which is crazy. I don't know how far they come from, but yeah. So we were always like trying to get them out of fields and move them. And there was one when I was walking up to it and the horse was already there and she got too curious.
I worry about the dogs sometimes with those. There's the Heinz Refuge here in Philly has got a lot of snapping turtles, and there was every now and then you'll see someone that's like, "Oh, the dog just wants to swim around," and I'm like, "I think you are playing with fire there." I feel like snapping turtles could put a hurting on a dog paw.
Yeah, I'm not. I've often thought about this because I used to swim in places that had snapping turtles, and I never heard of a snapping turtle actually snapping somebody while swimming. Like, I think that when they're in the water, they're more like, I'm going to get out of here. They're not. I think it's when they're on land that they really like are.
They feel like they got to defend themselves more.
Exactly. And maybe an expert can actually write in and tell us, no, you're wrong. They'll snap anywhere. Well,
I swam in our pond a lot and I never got anything. Any bites.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And those Blandings turtles, one of the things that's been sort of obvious this year is like they're way out in the middle of nowhere. They really, really, really travel far to either move ponds or lay eggs or both, right? And it's funny because you don't see painted turtles that far away from a pond. Like they go around but Blandings are like in the middle of, and they almost look like they walk a lot better than painted turtles. And you realize these turtles all have their strategies, like, and I could imagine like laying your eggs away from the pond is probably good in some ways, but then what do those little babies do? I mean, I can't imagine.
Got a long way to go, huh?
Yeah. And how do they even know where to go? And it's like fascinating to me. And yeah, it's wild anyway.
So I got a bird I'm really, really disappointed in here in the yard. And every year I enjoy our mockingbirds. Mockingbirds are kind of jerks, right? They a lot of people don't like them. They chase around a lot of other birds. They often will start singing middle of the night and keep going and going and going. And a lot of people don't like that. And certainly I've been on my share of chases for rare birds where there's some mockingbird, going around and you think, man, this thing's never going to show up because a mockingbird's just going to chase it off. But that being said, I really like mockingbirds. I think they're very fun. And I enjoy listening to the ones here. And each year there's, they have different things that they kind of cue in on. Like this year, there's a catbird that's got a little Chuck Will's widow to it, which is interesting because we don't have those around here. And I'm like, did he learn it from a Chuck Will's widow or did he learn it from another catbird? I don't know. And the mockingbirds, like there's one this year that does kestrel all the time. Last year, I had one that was doing yellow-billed cuckoo. And these are birds that we don't find around here really in the breeding season very much. And I've had kestrels as migrants, but I still never had a yellow-billed cuckoo in the yard. So every time I would hear it, I'd get all riled up. There's one that was doing a lot of great crested flycatcher. Often mockingbirds have 12, 15, different things they incorporate into their repertoire. And it can be really fun on a kind of, boring summer day to just see how many you can count, how many different things. And it's kind of a pastime that I enjoy. And this, I know, that's pretty
These are the
nerdy.
pastimes you enjoy. Okay, yeah, right.
I like, I'm sitting out back, I'm watching bugs, and I'm listening to the mockingbird, kind of keeping track of how much stuff. The mockingbird, the predominant mockingbird I have this year, it does like, it's like 80% Carolina wren. It just does like almost nothing besides Carolina wren. And I'm like, dude, what's with that? Just like no repertoire, really, And I'm really disappointed in him. I think could do a lot better. And he's just not putting his mind to it. Needs to get up, pick himself up, dust himself off, learn a few new tricks,
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, sometimes you just, you just, you're a cover band, like you're not, if you really were legitimately good at making your own songs, you would, but instead, sometimes you get older, you just are like, I'm done. Just going to do this
Maybe
one.
that's it. Maybe it's like a real old Mockingbird. He's just,
Cranky.
Yeah, just cashing it in, kind of calling it in,
Yeah.
mailing it in. I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, on that note, saying it's an older mockingbird, I was just thinking, as mockingbirds learn songs, are they increasing the number of songs that they're doing throughout their lifespan? Or do they hit a max, or are they like changing from year to year as they're around different birds?
I think it's individual males. Some of them do more songs than others. Like it's an individual thing.
I would guess that they settle on a song and then they kind of go with that, but I don't know. It's a very good
learning
question.
Period in their life.
Yeah, or they just find something that works.
So. I think they keep going. Yeah.
You think they keep adding stuff the whole time?
Yeah, they think they can. Yeah, that's.
Because I guess I wonder, is your mockingbird a young one that just hasn't learned more?
We do have two babies,
yet?
but they're not. Obviously, the two babies are just running around, pooping on my lawn furniture.
Well, and does it mean that this is a different mockingbird than you've had in previous years?
I think it must be.
It's doing different songs?
I think it must be. I think, like, I haven't heard my yellow-billed cuckoo mockingbird this year at all. There is one down the street that is the kestrel mockingbird that I hear quite a lot. But the immediate yard one just does like 6 different versions of Carolina Wren. Every now and then throws a few starling notes in there, and some towhee. And that's about it.
Wonder how aware it is that that's all the same bird.
Yeah.
All Carolina Wren variations.
Yeah. Pretty disappointing, though. I mean, I've really come to expect better of my mockingbirds.
Mockingbirds are cool.
When you're listening to those nighttime mockingbirds, and we've mentioned this before, they tend to be the young males and they're unmated. So if yours is only a daytime Carolina Wren, he's probably mated and may or may not be young, but more likely an older bird. So
yeah,
interesting.
Anyway, I just was really disappointed by that, and I felt like I had to get it off my chest. So I appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah.
I've been, on the other hand, quite impressed by one of my local birds, a chipping sparrow. Not because he chips better than others. See, I don't have that kind of judgment, value judgment, George.
Such a lie. People do not believe. Listeners do not believe Alvaro. He is extremely judgmental.
And it's because this chipping sparrow is real family chipping sparrow. He or she, I can't tell, brought little baby over, and it's got food from the feeder, and it's like, and I had seen this chipping sparrow a few weeks ago, and it has a band on it. So this time it was hanging around a little bit more, and I photographed. They would say the snot out of it. I think that's the ornithological
technical term.
Yeah, I photographed the snot out of it, and the band was placed. When banders actually band them, sometimes you can place it so you can read it easily if you're banding versus reading it in the field. So essentially it's upside down if it's in the field. So I'm like, I can't, so it was really difficult to get all the numbers. And I'd photographed him 3 weeks ago, got all the numbers except one. And I happened to look at the old photo and it had the missing number. So I'm like, oh. So I sent the info in online and I get an immediate reply, like the computer just knew what it was. And it was banded at the local bird observatory here, like a few kilometers away. But it was banded in 2024. And at that time it was of the age that they thought it hatched in 2023. So it's like 3 years old, has this little kid here, was banded over there. And I put it up online and the actual bander said, "Hey, I banded that bird." And he said, and his Andrew Brown, he said, and the notes say that it had some injury on the right leg, so we banded it on the left leg. And sure enough, it's banded on the left leg. But the injury, I cannot see any injury on the right leg. But it was enough that they didn't band it on that leg, and it's completely. So this bird has been banded, moved a bit, had an injury, 3 years old,
raising a family,
raising young, hanging out in my yard, and so I'm
really
quite
got
impressed.
attacked together. Really got attacked together. That chipping sparrow. Yeah,
and apparently that original, injury was from a bar fight, but. That's at least that's what the banding info shows.
Yeah.
There was alcohol
it was
involved.
Young. It was young back then.
Yeah, and snapping turtles. He was fighting with a snapping turtle. And
we all make
But
mistakes.
he or she has really turned their life around now and is happily
raising a family. Yeah.
Raising a family and chipping away or whatever. Actually, I haven't seen this individual sing, so I really don't know if it's male or female. That's pretty cool, huh? Like, you could take it one way and say, oh, it was just banded down the road, big deal. On the other hand, for me, like just the story of knowing the individual just makes it like you can piece together a bit of its life, which is uniquely rewarding. Even if it didn't, it's not a banded bird from like Mexico or something,
So they don't winter around there. So it's got covered some miles in the last few years, which is impressive.
Might have gone to West Virginia. So
yeah.
Never know.
There you go. Keep an eye out for it.
Are you
Not that we don't have them in the
about
winter.
some bird locally?
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Or are you impressed?
Good or bad to say about my birds. We have a song sparrow that has a funky song that's been here for 2 seasons now. So it's back, and it's one I hear from the porch. So that's nice. And
funky song sparrow. I like that.
Yeah, that's right. And then there's one crow that sounds weird that's been around for as long as we've lived out here, 2.5 years, and it's flying around, and I guess with a family now because now they're young crows. So I like them. That's all I got.
Love the crows. We're feeding the crows peanuts here. We got some. We've been putting them out on our stump feeder. And Kristen, every time she hears the fish crows, runs out the door with a handful of peanuts and they're fish crows mostly, and she starts going, and she's trying to like, she's like, I'm the peanut lady. It's basically what she's trying to tell them. And
now we're going to get hate mail. Oh boy. Feeding the crows. This is where it comes.
I talk to my crows and the ravens anytime they're around. I'm saying something loud enough that I think they can hear because I want them to come. On the bird feeding update, I said in the last episode that Jimmy and I have bought a Wild Birds Unlimited that we're going to reopen this fall once the new space is all ready, which the previous folks are still getting out. But one thing we're doing is testing smart feeders. We got a whole bunch to decide which ones, like the ones that do the AI and tell you what bird you're seeing, or at least it's a live feed. They don't all have it's varying levels of AI. We won't get into the AI discussion.
I saw Jimmy's rose-breasted grosbeak captured while he was on the tractor.
Yeah, he's like sitting there looking at his phone and it's telling him that the bird's in front of him. Yeah, in his defense, he was running the backhoe, so I guess he was busy. But there are like a bajillion, there are actually like 7 different types of smart feeders, but that are here and that we're testing. But one of the cool things is that there are a couple of these, they're the cameras that work in these feeders, but they're just loose. And they're on like, you can move them around however you want. So you can like stick them in a nest box. You can put them by a pond. It's much higher quality than my trail cameras. They're really only daytime, but it's an opportunity to be creative. You can stick them on a nest if you want. You can put them wherever you want. So that's kind of a cool thing that we were at the annual Wild Birds Unlimited conference. And it was in Pittsburgh this year, and it was at the top of the month. And that was some of the hot new items that were coming out. But what Jimmy and I were talking about last night, and what you were saying with the mockingbirds, is we were like, well, what are the birds that some people like and some people don't like? Blue jays being the topic of discussion, because we love blue jays.
It makes me so mad when people harsh on blue jays. I get upset about that because I love blue jays.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
the best,
People in Toronto here Blue Jay fans, of course. You would know.
That's true.
That makes
That's true.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I like
Yeah,
those
that
Toronto
helps.
folk. Yeah.
Yeah, suddenly these things matter if we're
Grackles.
going to
People
be.
dislike grackles.
That's
Yeah,
one that,
yeah.
yeah, it's too
Get a bad
bad.
rap. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
And they make
Okay.
up shit about grackles. That's the part I dislike. It's like, oh, they'll pull the young right out of the nest and they slap them around. You're like, hell, hold on. Like,
Slap 'em
where, who,
around.
it's like, it's like you get people online
Yeah,
talking about
pull
like
the young out and
grackles like this
waterboard them,
evil.
and yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're just doing their thing, like whatever. They're native bird. Yeah, maybe they're more common now than they used to be, but
I think they're awesome.
I enjoy grackles.
Yeah, they're not more
Purple
common
and
everywhere.
bronze. Yeah.
They're gorgeous. Yeah, we had a friend with kids over last night that were 5 and 9, and they were looking through the videos we had, and the grackle was their favorite bird that they'd picked out because they thought it was really cool and shiny. And they are. They're gorgeous.
Brown-headed
But yeah.
cowbirds, crows, blue jays,
yeah.
grackles, all those all get a bad rap, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you talking about kids, one of met some neighbor kids, and there's one kid really interested in nature, especially insects, and was really amazed. Like we all kind of like our jaws dropped because like somebody said, "Oh, I think it's going to rain tonight" or something, and the kid said, "Nope, because the ants did not cover their nests. It's not going to rain." And I was like, "Oh
Wow.
my God." Like, who are you, kid?
It's like a wizard. Yeah.
Yeah, as a wizard. Yeah. Like I thought, like, that's a really interesting thing. Like if I assume ants actually probably figure there's pressure change and they, react to it. And if you know the right ants to look at, maybe this is actually I assume it's a real thing. But the fact that this kid knew it, I'd never heard of it. It was like, oh, that's neat. It's
Sweet.
yeah, I know. But
Interesting.
it's
Really.
just some cool neighbors and their kids around here. So it's like fascinating when you meet some young person who's really interested in nature. They're like, wow, yeah. It's like when you really get into something, you really get into something. Yeah.
That's
so,
awesome.
And Mollee, where were you headed with the research on birds that people don't care for necessarily?
Oh, well, we're just looking at, how we're going to advertise product in the store. And we were talking about, like, what are the birds that people really want to attract around here?
Mm-hmm.
And it's never really mattered to us what other people want to do.
Like Baird, sparrow.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've just been, I don't know. This is like, I am gone so much this summer that Jimmy is really running with this, and he's spearheading all of this thought on it, but trying to get a pulse on like what the local public actually wants to do and what kind of seed they want and that sort of thing. So it's kind of fun to think about. And we're starting with curbside sales. We're going to do online ordering and shipping to people because there are a lot of people who are members of Wild Birds Unlimited who currently aren't getting their fresh local seed. So they want it as quickly as possible. So we're looking at like a limited inventory to sell online first. So that's one of the reasons that we're trying to make these decisions on what to stock, what's priority.
Do people react to seed prices? Like if you said, "Oh, this seed's way better for attracting a wide variety of birds, but it's 20% more than this other seed," do people tend to go, "Oh," like not people, but birders who are buying bird seed are already probably have some disposable income, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be spending it on something that's maybe you would say not necessary, right? Like, you want to eat first. But do you think it affects people's purchasing of seed, like the actual pricing?
I mean, of course, I haven't actually sold any of this, but we were talking about that last night too, actually, because we were looking at our sunflower, or black sunflower feeder that's next to the Wild Birds Unlimited no mess blend. So it's the one that just has the hulls removed and those sorts of things so that nothing's dropping. And we were wondering what the actual percent of edible food is in, because the blend that has everything that's already shelled costs a lot more. But I don't actually, I mean, I'd have to sit and look to see what the price is per, weight of food that the birds are actually consuming versus what they're disposing of if they're opening up their sunflowers or their peanuts or that sort of thing. I guess that folks, I mean, Wild Birds Unlimited is a big chain. There are like 350 stores or so, and it runs a membership, and I know that independent stores do similar things, but judging by the response from people who are members or were members of the store here and have been going without and going back to their seed from like the farm supply store or whatever, they're very unhappy with it. So there have been a lot of complaints about what they've been feeling. Seems like folks don't really go back once they get a higher quality seed and see how much more birds eat it. So I don't know.
Interesting.
It's not cheap. You can get really into it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like if you're really into it and gives you a lot of pleasure. It's not cheap to do gardening either. It's
right.
You buy these plants and then your time involved.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's if you like it or not. It adds a lot to your life. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? We were talking earlier about something totally different and much more scientific-y, which is El Niño. Have you guys been hearing about El Niño?
The child?
Oh, yeah.
The child, yes. The child.
It's the Mandalorian movie.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that Chris Farley?
Oh, yeah.
With the El Niño, we should shine our live with like,
I am the Niño. Yeah.
Yeah. That's worth looking at. Maybe we'll put a link to that because it's just so stupid. I think that's probably, I got to say, like for the average person in North America, that's probably the first time they really heard about El Niño, right? Because it's like, what is this? And I think it was that was going on. Like the news were talking about this thing.
Right.
And nobody knew what the heck it was, and they just made fun of it in Saturday Night Live. But so this El Niño is like this situation that happens. There's La Niña, El Niño. They kind of go back and forth, and it's El Niño is when the ocean temperature really warms up in the Pacific along the equator closest to between sort of in the area of the Galapagos Islands to the coast and also a little bit further to the west of the Galapagos. So it either warms up there or it cools down, and it's dependent on winds. So how the winds are, when the trade winds essentially stop, everything kind of warms up and the warm water has very little nutrient food value for fish and birds. So El Niño tends to be the situation where all the ocean birds and ocean creatures have no food. The land creatures get more rain, so they kind of benefit. So if you're on the Galapagos or on the coast of Ecuador, there's more rain, and rain often is, plants, bugs, and all that. So these things happen, they're natural, but every so often you get this big El Niño, like the super El Niños. And, in our lifetimes, there's probably been like 3 or 4 of them or something, depending on our lifetime, I guess. But it's the one that really kickstarted everything was 81, 82. That's when people were like, what the heck? And I think then 87 was another one, if I want to say 97, and then 87, 97, something like that. But it's the big ones cause huge changes in bird distribution, food, weather all over the world. And this year, like, they started predicting this quite early. They said this is going to be a big one. And it was called officially as an El Niño just a few days ago, June 11th, I think. So that's when enough data was there that, yep, it's happening, and that means that all the places they're looking at sea temperature warmth, it's gone past the critical levels. But it is climbing like you wouldn't believe. Like some of the sea surface temperatures right now are off the charts. Like there's never been in the area sort of west of the Galapagos water temperatures as high as there are now since they've recorded them in a June time period. And there's only one other time, I think, where those waters got to this warmth, and it really is just starting. So the implication is that a huge chunk of the Pacific is going to warm up in the next few months, and probably to record levels. And it's A, bad, B, good, depending on what's your perspective is. If you're looking for rare birds, it could be quite good. We might be seeing, Galapagos species like blue-footed boobies getting up into California. It's bad because those birds had to leave their regular ranges due to the fact that they have no food. There's already blue-footed boobies in Chile further south than they've ever been seen. And there are early sort of sightings right now of black storm petrels in California, earlier than ever. And they're sort of already starting to show up. And those don't even come from the main area. They don't breed in the main area where this is affecting right now, but I think a lot of non-breeders hang out there. So they're probably just like bolting and moving north. So there's a lot of what is going to happen kind of thing. And it's just beginning. So as you'll start hearing a lot more about this in the next few months, there's also a weirdo cold blob out north of where you guys are, off south of Greenland and sort of north and east of Newfoundland. And that big cold water blob is thought to be because there's so much ice melting from the Greenland ice sheets that it's actually changing the salinity and density of the water and the temperature. And some people are super worried about that whole thing because they're saying that that's one of the symptoms of when you start getting a collapse in the Gulf Stream. And so we're into this weird, like, what the heck is going on? And as birders, we can be like, oh, this is neat to sort of track what's happening. And I think it's useful. And especially if you're not you don't live in the oceans, you're going to have different weather systems happening, maybe a warm winter where you are, maybe wet winter where you are. And it's vital to have sort of good eBird data to sort of see what happens during these years. We sort of are all putting our little data points because if they happen again, we'll be kind of prepared and we will see what the effects are. And there will be positives and there will be negatives, like with everything in nature. There's winners and losers. But I think George and, he's talked about the hurricanes, like where there's this sort of wonderful aspect of, wow, some cool things to be seen. And also this tragic, awful situation happening where people, property, and the birds themselves are being harmed by it. And it's a weird thing to be a nature enthusiast, right? Because a drought can be fantastic for some things to show up or not show up, and they're awful for the environment, or vice versa. You can have a wonderful green year where everything's blooming and you're detecting other things. And we sort of have to make sure we document what is going on this year, because it may end up being a really weird one, is what, So I'm both scared and excited, which is a weird feeling, but birders get this all the time, I think. Nature people get this all the time. Yeah, it's like, storm's coming. It's like, what do I do?
Right. How do I feel about this? Yeah.
How do I feel about this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of thing. Watch this.
I'm excited to continue talking about it on the podcast too throughout the next several months. It'll be interesting to check in on it.
Just see what happens.
Yeah. The blob. First off, I'm visualizing the blob, which is like what these are called, right? So like help me wrap my head around it, because blob is, I don't know if it's a scientific term, but there are blobs that people talk about that show up in different areas that are hot or cold, and it's like a thing.
Yeah, there was one, exactly, like 2017 or something. Was that 17? Anyway, about 10 years ago, that this warm water situation happened offshore of the West Coast. It was not El Niño. And they were like, what do we call this thing? Somebody called it, let's just call it the warm water blob. But now they're more officially, like people start realizing we better get a name that sounds more scientific-y. So they call them
That's
marine
the second
heat waves.
scientific-y mention today. That's pretty good, Al.
We're a scientific podcast too.
Yeah, I know. Let's not make it sound so layperson-y, So even though
I'll tell you what, the
captures your
layperson can
attention-
benefit from that in this context.
I know. I mean, the blob really kind of made it visual for people. Oh, there's this big old blob of warm water offshore. But now they're calling them marine heat waves, and there's tracking of them now, and they show up different places. Yeah, and they have a similar effect to Niños, but a different form. They form for different reasons, and they appear to be more common now because of general ocean warming. So yeah, it's again, warm water, less food, less oxygen. So that whole thing creates a chain of events or a chain of ecological events that can be bad for certain creatures.
It seems like that's one of those things where, like, looking at those blobs is not the way that scientists have always thought about it, right? So there are like events that are being explained, that something weird happened where, I don't know, humpback whale migration was off however many years ago, and then they like start to put pieces together that this is maybe the situation that was happening.
Right.
There.
Yeah, like there is kind of forensic. You can go back in time sometimes by looking at ice cores or something, and they measure the oxygen levels, and they figure out things that, I'm sure that similar stuff happens in the ocean where they can look at, marine sediments and go, oh, the water was warm for years and it was cold. And it was, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think there's some of this stuff's always been going on and hasn't been documented. And now we can document it. And some people are trying to figure out, how do we go back and see when this stuff was happening? So, yeah. Oh,
I am terrified to think about that, but excited. I know we were talking before we started recording that I've been reading up a little bit on, I was talking about common murd die-off that a lot of birders heard about. Was that 2017? Is that the blob you were talking about? I don't remember exactly what year.
Probably, yeah. That period, yeah.
Just millions and millions. And actually there were like horrible things where they had like neurological issues that were causing them to starve and like look for food on land, and they were like wandering hundreds of miles inland, and just horrible effects, not good ways to go out.
Yeah, that's probably that domoic acid that can happen.
Yes, yeah.
When you have warm water, you get, what is it, like a bacterium or something that creates and then that has neurological issues that it when they eat stuff with it that has
Crazy.
the domoic acid. Yeah.
Well, I've been starting to look at accounts of that event is where I started, and what piqued my interest in this of, I know about the birds, and I know that, okay, there was a difference in water temperature, and then looking at all the changes that happen throughout every stage of the food web and what is increasing and decreasing and how all these things are shifting like that. And it is so incredibly complicated. And like you said, it's affecting marine mammals, it's affecting birds, and it just amounts to such drastic changes that it feels like a horror movie unfolding.
Yeah.
But it is incredibly fascinating too.
Yeah, exactly. Like and then the winds shift, right? When you get these situations happening, like the jet streams and all that move and shift, and I think some folks have heard that during El Niño there's less. Is it during El Niño there's fewer Atlantic hurricanes, and then during La Niña there's more usually? So these huge effects, and then those shifts in wind surely affect migration, right? Could be good, could be bad. I have no idea. And they probably, they definitely affect vagrancy. That classic study of we were talking about Steve Feldstein earlier before we started with the bristle-thighed curlew invasion of the West Coast. That was during El Nino, as sort of and these birds that never are seen on the West Coast. And one year there was a whole bunch, and it was sort of like, why? How did this happen? And
Yeah.
it was a shift in the winds and some storm systems when they never should have happened in that time of year, like that May timeframe, and they happened. So
And timing of migration of when all of these movements are kicking off, right? If food sources are different, if they're more abundant or less abundant,
yeah,
and young are getting fed at a different rate and leaving the nest earlier or later.
yeah, exactly.
So much.
Black-throated blue warblers that have been looked at like in their winter and breeding habitats. Apparently, they raise fewer successful broods during El Nino years. I mean, I'm probably simplifying it, but folks can look that up. It's like
Not the species I would have thought of first as a case study.
I know.
Like Veery also is another one that, there's something about their nesting cycle that is predictive about the hurricane season.
The hurricanes, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I think only by us paying attention and documenting, and especially I know sometimes birders will go and do their eBird lists and just put little X's. Oh yeah, it's common species. Don't ever put an X on an eBird list. Just estimate it to the best of your knowledge. If it's you think you saw maybe there are 8 or so, right? Anything between 5 and 15 is better than an X. Because then you can use that for actual tracking info data. The list with X's essentially become useless for most of this type of info. And we need a lot of data to figure out what is going on. I'm sure the Cornell people will look at it, eventually. So it's worthwhile. Remember, eBird is not just about your list; it's about the birds. So
That's right. That's community science.
That's right.
Yeah, I
keep telling you, George, it's not about the list.
That's right. Yep.
That's Life List.
That's right.
We didn't. I almost never think about putting an X on a list, but I was tempted to when I was leading a tour in Maine last week, and we were at Machias Seal Island, which has an estimated 9,000 pairs of puffins. Isn't that crazy? It's a small island. But there were a lot of puffins around, and I did do some counting, but we are kind of at time, but we have so many more things to talk about that we said we were going to talk about, like colonies and counting birds and that sort of thing.
Juicy stuff for the future. We'll wrap it into our next roundtable. I think after this one, I think we've got Scott Weidensall coming up.
We do,
and then another roundtable after that. So we hope y'all will continue to stay tuned and tell your friends about us, right? Tell your friends about Life List Birding Podcast. Check out our various sites to see what we're up to.
I have an opening for a single female person for Galapagos end of July. So very, very specific.
Ooh.
Yeah, it is alvarosadventures.com. And we have one of the most fun Galapagos trips ever.
100. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep. Yeah, check out our various sites, see what we're up to. We've got stuff going on at Hillstar Nature as well, and a few spots we're looking to sell. So, anything else, guys, before we sign off here?
No, I think...
Nah, we'll save it.
Okay.
More stuff next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Well, thanks, everybody, for listening. We will be back again soon with another episode of Life List, a birding podcast. Everybody, take care. Guys, see you soon.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.